This is just before the Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mount that we would call Sermon on the Mount. And like I said, the places start to pop out at you, the comments before the red words. So I'm going to read that to you. And he went, this is speaking of Jesus, and he went throughout all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every disease and every affliction among the people. So his fame spread throughout all Syria, and they brought him all the sick, those afflicted with various diseases and pains, those oppressed by demons, those having seizures and paralytics, and he healed them. And great crowds followed him from Galilee, and from the Decapolis, and from Jerusalem, and from Judea, and from beyond the Jordan. So there are a lot of places listed throughout this whole area. I mean, people are coming in from all over, from north, from all the way south to Judea and Jerusalem. Mentioned Syria here. So people, thousands of people are coming into this area. And it's because they hear about Jesus' healing ministry. And then he gets up and he speaks to the people. He wants to talk to them. He has their attention. He has their ear. You know, they've had, either they have been healed or a close family member has been healed. And I'm sure everyone here knows somebody or is close to somebody who has struggled through an illness of some sort. And you can imagine what it's like if you heard of someone. I mean, let's set aside the false healing ministries. If you hear of someone who's actually legitimate, and your friend, your sister, your brother, your dad, your mom, your grandma gets healed, and now you're here, you've traveled, you're here, and you want to hear what Jesus has to say. So he addresses the crowd, and I'd love to read the whole thing, but that's not going to happen. I'm actually just going to read the conclusion because I want you guys to go back and read the whole thing. At the end of chapter 7, so it's 3 chapters long. This is the longest, if you want to say, sermon that is recorded from Jesus. Okay, so chapter 7, starting in verse 24. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. And when Jesus finished these sayings, the crowds were astonished at his teaching, for he was teaching them as one who had authority. So I want you to think back through, and I've just read it, so I'll tell you what it says, but think back with me through what Jesus has just shared. He shared basically, if you will, the economy of his kingdom. It says he was going throughout teaching of the kingdom of God, right? So he's sharing about this kingdom. And he's going back through and he's saying who is going to be blessed in his kingdom. He starts out there. And then he talks about the law, and he says, you have heard, but I say. And he says that 6 times for 6 different things. So he's saying, okay, he even talks about the law, and he uses some of the 10 commandments and says, you have heard these things, but I say. So he's establishing the economy of the kingdom. He talks about who will be rewarded. Lay up for yourself treasures, not on earth, but in heaven. This economy of this kingdom. And then he comes to the end and he says, everyone then who hears these words of mine, he's speaking with authority. He's coming as a king. That's why he's speaking it with authority. He's not speaking someone else's words. He's speaking the words of his Father, the words of his kingdom. And so he's speaking with great authority. And so I just want, as I thought about this, and I thought, if I was here, If yes, I gave Jesus my ear, a rebellious spirit would say, who is this man who has a right to speak over my life, to have authority in my life, and to say, no, you need to do this? Who is this man? That's what a rebellion, that would be the arrogant response, right? But the humble response, the one that is being affected by the Spirit of God, would say, yes, this is my king, and this is who I'm going to listen to, this is who I'm going to follow. And so just as I bring that into the 21st century, I think there's many people in the church who would give God your ear, but not give him your allegiance. We'll listen. We'll sit there and we'll listen. And that was a great sermon, right? That was really, really good word today, right? But will we submit under his kingdom, under his rule, under his reign? That's been the problem since Adam and Eve. Eve came out from under the reign of God. She rebelled. It didn't matter what the commandment was. It didn't matter what the one thing was. Eat a piece of fruit, don't brush your teeth. Whatever it was God's rule. It was his house, and he set up a rule and a reign. And Eve came out from under that. And we're still struggling with that today, not submitting ourselves to the rule of our rightful king, Jesus Christ. So I just want to challenge you guys, give your allegiance. This is for the entire world. We talk about it, yes, Jesus Christ is the rightful heir of the throne of David. That's true. Jesus Christ is the rightful heir of the throne of the entire world. He will rule and reign the whole world. From here, yes, from Jerusalem. But he's the ruler. He is the king. Whether you follow him, whether you submit to him, whether you bow before him or not, he is that king. One day you will stand before him and give an answer for how you lived before that king. The Bible is not about us. It's not about us finding something that will make us happy, or finding something that give us meaning, or be a part of a religion. The Bible is about Jesus Christ, his rule and his reign. And will you submit under that? You have the option now. There will come a day when every knee will bow before him, and you don't have the option then. You will be judged for what you do. So I don't want to be overly sobering, but that's Jesus is asking the people here this day when he's speaking to them. Yes, I have your ear. Yes, you're living in the benefits of my kingdom, but will you live under my rule and my reign? And I would ask you guys the same thing.